Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are hitting more Photon Hypernova reveals. We are winding up, winding down to the rest of the reveals for the set, at least the OCG's part of the set. I think there's 3 cards here this morning. That'll leave us with, I think, about 10 cards left in the set overall. I wouldn't be surprised if we have no more reveals for the rest of the of this cycle, aside from like the final dump of the last 10 cards. But I'll bring that to you when it drops. It'll probably come in the next 2 days or so. But yeah, we got more albaz lore stuff. Really cool. This is Lindworm, the gun hammer dragon. It's very mechanical, and then there's just albaz chilling on it. Really funny. Okay, let's take a look here. This is a level 8 Dark Wing Beast fusion. 2500 attack, 2000 defense. Fallen of Albaz plus any Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monster. That's a little weird though, because it makes you want to kind of play like Tri-Brigades in a fusion variant, but Branded Fusion is by far the best fusion card that like kind of abuses, like just kind of cheats out fusion monsters with like really easy material by sending Albaz and stuff from deck, but then locks you into fusion. So whatever you're searching off Nerval's, getting off kit, once you send the Nerval there, you're not really going to be able to do a ton with it because you're locked into fusions. You can't do link summons, but whatever. As far as that goes, moving on, he's got 2 pretty good effects. First effect says when a fusion, synchro, exceed, or link monster activates its uneffects, so just anything from the extra deck, negate that activation, then you can return 1 monster on the field to the owner's hand. It's not bad. I mean, as long as you're playing a matchup where your opponent doesn't apply pressure with main deck monsters, that could be decent, for sure. But it kind of needs to go with other stuff. Can't be your only interruption there, but it's not a bad one. Second effect, during your opponent's turn, if this card is in your graveyard, that's pretty generic. It doesn't need a ton of setup. Target a Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard. Between that target and this card, special summon 1 and banish the other. Now, I like that a lot because this would be a really easy card to send because it's an Albaz named fusion card, or has it in the materials, which means being able to like summon him off of, or get this guy sent while doing standard like Albaz plays would be pretty easy. And then as long as you didn't shuffle the Albaz back or banish the Albaz, this just essentially gives you a quick super poly on the opponent's turn. Now, it's a super poly your opponent can respond to, but that's still really good. And that generically happens just by sending this to grave and then getting an Albaz in grave. You don't even have to make this, really. You could just get this sent. I think this card's actually pretty good. I think both of his effects are solid. I think the first effect is a pretty decent interruption. I'd like it if it was just monster effect, period, but it's still pretty decent, and then it bounces, so if it's extra, if you're negating an extra card and then bouncing it, that's obviously generally going to be stronger than destroying. Just keeping their stuff out of the grave is good, and then that follow-up effect is still pretty good, and he can get himself back on the field if you want, or do the Albaz, which is pretty cool. I like it a lot, to be honest. Pretty cool card. The only other thing to keep in mind is are there any other Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast targets that for Branded Fusion could be really good send targets? I don't know off the top of my head. The only thing I could think of was Tri-Brigade, but like I said, there's some conflictions there with locking yourself out of link summoning, so I don't know. You got to keep that in mind. Maybe we'll go through and dig later and see what we can find. Next up here, we have a new trap card called Branded Inevitability. I believe this is a new Bestial card because it's a continuous, and obviously we know Bestial Lubellion is the card that sets any branded continuous spell or trap for free, so pretty searchable there. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a bestial monster you control and no other cards, just that, or they activate a card or effect in response to the activation of your bestial monster's effect, you can target a light or dark monster in their graveyard, banish it, and if you do, negate the activated effect. I think this card is complete doo-doo. It's mostly just protection, but it needs so much setup, right? Like, not only does it only stop when somebody's targeting a bestial monster and nothing else, or responding exactly to an activated bestial effect, but they have to have a light or dark monster in graveyard if you are playing any of those matchups where you kind of have to use the bestials to banish your own stuff because your opponent isn't giving them to you. This card is completely dead. Yeah, it just feels like it needs a lot of setup. It's already slow anyway. I guess in a grind game, the whole point is like, oh, once we get into a grind, you can't contest my Bistchills anymore. They just get to all resolve for free. But other than that, I don't see this card being better than either of the other ones we got in Darkwing Blast. So for me, this one's kind of a wash. It takes more setup than you want it to. It's not strong enough. It's not as strong as you want it to be. It's just mid all the way through. So yeah. And the final card I have here, and this one was just revealed. Like literally just revealed. So one thing we will have to look at is if there's other cards coming out, I will bring those to you, of course, but I'm going to work soon. Let me do a quick update. Yeah. So this looks like the final one. This is Branded Light's a quick play spell. This may be one of the only quick play spells in the branded arsenal. But let's take a look. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target a fusion monster on the field or in the graveyard. This is on the field, by the way. So if you're in a matchup against fusions, you could target that. Return it to the extra deck. Then you can special summon one Fallen of Albaz from your graveyard and one monster from your opponent's graveyard to their owner's fields. Wow, that is weird. That is really strange. So it returns... So essentially this gives you a quick fusion, a quick kind of Albaz Super Poly as well. You do need to get your own Albaz set up in Grave. That's the one thing you have to do here. That kind of makes this a little weird. Although to be fair, even if you don't get Albaz, you can still do that first effect, I believe, which is even if you're just in a fusion matchup, target their fusion monster and bounce it. Just not a bad, just like going second or mid-range play against a fusion deck because they probably won't float or anything, which is pretty good. But yeah, being able to like quick pull out Albaz, and even if you're giving them a monster, you would presumably be giving them a monster that isn't getting them any real value, and then you're just going to super poly it away. You would also get to choose something that hopefully type attribute, stats, general stats would work with Albaz to get out one of the better fusion monsters you'd want access to, which is pretty cool. I think this is an interesting card for sure. It is a branded card. It does list Albaz in the text, so I do believe it's like quite searchable via a couple different cards, but very interesting. This could almost be a side deck card too versus fusion decks in general. But yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, it's just, against fusion decks, it's just compulse, but like not a trap. You don't have to set it. You could just fire it going second, which is pretty cool. So yeah, all things considered, I think this card's pretty interesting. This card could actually be worth seeing some play, depending on where we're at, and I don't know. I'm sure there'll be other plays where you can set this up quicker and easier, but this card's kind of meh, and I like this card. So I think the fusion and the quick play spell are pretty interesting. I think the new Bestial Trap is just mid, nothing more than that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. 3 more cards here. I believe this leaves us with 10 cards left in the set. Let me know your thoughts down below on these cards. I'm kind of happy that I know some people are probably tired of the Albaz lore. Like, we don't need any more Albaz lore cards, whatever. But I don't know. I still think they're cool. I don't know. I just wanted them to be useful. At least like for some of these past sets, we've been getting like support cards where I was like, I don't know if I would even consider playing this in the type of build that like it's designed for. But at least these seem like they could have some traction, could be legitimately playable in their deck. So I will take it. I think it's interesting. I'm always down for stuff that actually makes like different decks and archetypes a little bit better. So yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I will catch you in the next video. Subscribe if you have not yet and you want to stay up to date on the final Photon Hypernova reveals as well as any other Yu-Gi-Oh card reveals. I got multiple deck profiles coming for Darkwing Blast. We should be getting the first Trap Trick structure deck reveal soon. A lot of stuff coming. I'm really excited. Stay tuned, guys. I'll keep you updated. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.